Merci encore. Nous allons maintenant aborder le dernier panel de la matinée qui s'intitule « Créer un studio IA, outils, workflows et narration ». Pour cela, I'm very pleased to welcome on stage notre cher David Defendi en tant que modérateur, s'il vous plaît. Avec lui, nous avons Nancy Hamilton, qui est CEO chez Golden Eagle. Please welcome. Brad Minich, je pense, ou Minich, sorry, qui est VFX chez Independent. Please welcome. Zach London, CEO chez Gossip Goblin. Fabrice Nadjari, CEO chez Mini Studio. Je vous en prie, installez-vous. Et Chris Branch, qui est représentant chez CapCut et fondateur de CDD. And take a microphone, please. Thank you.
So we're going to talk about the studio. I'm very pleased to meet you. So for you, very pleased to meet you. And we're going to make a little presentation about your work, about what you made before, just like 30 seconds, 1 minute. And after we're going to go straight on the theme. All right. So Zach, you can start about it.
Sure. I'm Zach. I am the founder of Gossip Goblin, which is it was just a one-man thing, and now it's a studio. I'm really not good at talking about the work. I feel like it'd be nice to show a little teaser, but we don't have it.
It was it was too late, but you have to see what he's made is incredible work on internet, on Instagram, Gossip Goblin. You have to go there, and we will give you the link of everyone. You have to see. It's really a new word, a new grammar, and a new way to making movie. And incredible work. But you were working on a tech company before in San Francisco. You were working in Meta, in a lot of stuff. So you know really from the inside the Silicon Valley. Yeah. And for Fabrice, it's the same. Fabrice was a professor in Stanford. He was in Silicon Valley too, and you can talk about you. He loved ayahuasca too. He's a professor in Stanford.
Trying to recover from the tech industry. That's right.
So ayahuasca and AI is very important, you know.
Yeah, and that's how you end up doing content for kids, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
But in a nutshell, yeah, I'm a mathematician, anthropologist by background, and I've been working at the intersection of storytelling and technology for the last 25 years. I'm based in the US. And 3 years ago, I started with two amazing co-founders, an AI native studio, which produces content for kids. It's called Mini Studio. We have now hundreds of millions of views on our universe. They're called the Fuzzlets. They're cute, fuzzy little monsters. You might have seen them on the internet because they became totally viral. Now that we disrupted production, we are also trying to disrupt distribution. And we came up.
It's going to be very important, but we talk about it. Yeah.
We came up with a platform that allows anyone to personalize their cartoons. So voilà, this is what we're going to talk about today.
So Brad, so you know very well the studio, but the real studio, because you are working for Zack Snyder, the 300, a lot of big blockbusters, Gladiators with Ridley Scott, and I know you go to AI. So, but you can tell about your past and what you want to do.
Yeah, this is working. That is true. Brad Minnick, and I've been in Hollywood for about 30 years, and it's been a fascinating ride. 10 of those years were with Warner Brothers, and that's correct. We did the DC universe, so all the Batmans and Supermans and the big stuff, and that was an amazing, amazing time, but there's a big shift happening with AI, and visual effects on top of that. There's hybrid approaches happening, which are really interesting in the studio system, but we can talk a little bit more about that. Yeah. But that's kind of my background and my world.
And you led the VFX for the AI, or you use AI instead of VFX. But
that's true.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah,
and Chris, of course, you give the tools. Without you, we can't do nothing. And you work in CapCut, in ByteDance, and
I don't actually. I'm a CapCut invite, but I also own my own AI studio.
Yeah. So tell me about your AI studio.
So I run Seedly, and we're a small advertising agency, but working with global clients. And I also run an AI live show as well, where I interview some of the best in the world doing what they do. But yeah, about 6 years ago, we started this AI studio, so very early to the AI movement. And it's just been incredible. Three of us working with international clients. It's enterprise level clients. It's really exciting stuff.
Yeah. So thank you so much to be there. So exactly we are a little bit in the US with you right now because everyone here is living in the US. And we're going to directly talk about the disruption. We're not going to be the good guys. We're going to be the bad guys. And like a dedicated to Mathieu, like we're going to be punk a little bit. We're going to be punk because the creators, they don't follow the rules. If we are a creator, really creator, we don't have to follow the rules and to say yes to everyone. No, you have to say a big no. To do what you want with a lot of freedom and to say not fuck AI, but fuck the rules, maybe. Okay, it's bad. It's bad. Okay, I know. I play a role, okay, a little bit. I exaggerate a little bit, but it's just to make, to breathe a little bit and to give the voice of the creator, because the creator have really, they are the most important in the industry. It's not the tools, it's not all the people who are working, it's only the creator. So if we talk about punk, we talk about Zach. And the way that you are working and the world that you're making with the cyberpunk world, it's just incredible. 3 million people following you in Instagram, and you are really trying to find a world. And can you tell about your artistic way on the way that you want to? You don't care about movie, you don't care about platform. You try to make your world with your public directly. And that's so the way I love is like you have the artist, you have the public, and the artist can talk to the public directly. That is a new stuff that we have with social media. So,
yeah, that's a lot of different questions aimed at once.
Yeah, take the one you like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So why do cyberpunk?
I don't think I'm punk at all, but thank you. Yeah, I mean, it didn't start as cyberpunk. It just kind of has evolved in that direction. Yeah, so my background, I have nothing to do with film at all. I'm not like a movie buff. I don't even watch that much TV. But yeah, my original background is in sculpture and anthropology and illustration. And I got into AI probably around the same time as everyone else, just like the early days of DALL-E and Midjourney and the different kind of open source models. And what I thought as an illustrator by trade, I thought that this is like, I mean, a little existentially terrifying in terms of like, what does this mean for, you know, like my whole creative outlet? But I thought like the narrative potential of AI seemed really exciting. And so I think, you know, even prior to like the first image to video models coming out, there was a lot of people kind of hacking together different tools to try and tell, I mean, kind of like weird and uncanny narrative stuff. Like everyone remembers the Harry Potter Balenciaga days where it was like very primitive AI. It wasn't even AI, it was just kind of bizarre, uncanny movement. But from there up until now, it's just been this constant evolution where like the tech evolves at such a pace that it unlocks like new storytelling capabilities. And so I think I didn't like even intentionally start creating kind of a narrative universe. It was more like this kind of fun exploration with the tools. And as things have kind of gotten wilder, the storytelling potential has gotten wilder, and I've just gotten carried away.
But the way that you are working like an artist, normally we have the artists, they are working alone. When in cinema, they are working alone, the scriptwriter working alone. You're going to see a producer, a director. But the new way that you're making is that you work directly with the public. At the beginning, the first feedback that you have is the public. And that's a new stuff with a lot of public. And how do you manage the way to create with a lot of public who are watching every day what you're sending on the social media?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to be at like the mercy of the public. Like my fans don't. I mean, I like some of them, but no, the public is merciless. I mean, between the people who hate AI and the people who feel entitled to dictate what you do because, you know, they liked your post and therefore they're your, you know, your boss now. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I guess jumping ahead of all the other stuff, I think what's most interesting about it is, yeah, my studio, we're making our own kind of IP-driven universe with our own short films and series, and we're working on an anthology now and kind of aiming towards a North Star of having a full, streamed series in the not so far future. But I think what's exciting is like we don't have to wait a year between seasons or months before something just makes it to the mainstream. It's kind of like I can write a script in a day and then materialize it the next day via AI and then post it and see how does the public react, and that can kind of drive entire storylines. And so right now the pace is kind of like about 6 minutes of content a week. That's, I'd say, pretty detailed and like pretty crazy in terms of both narration and visuals. And I think what's fun for me is like there's so many different ideas to explore and characters and storylines, and the ones that succeed or like really permeate or resonate with people are the ones we push on. So like I'll explore really esoteric and weird ideas, and a lot of the time the public just hates it. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? We just drop it. We just pretend it never happened.
Hey, it's David, can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So about your, you want the North Star of making a larger film. And right now you're posting online in short form. And how does, those are two different worlds in my opinion, where you're posting, it's immediate, here it is, here's my audience, we're online, let's go. Whereas the other longer format, do you want to eventually get it into theaters? And we were talking about distribution, and that's a whole different animal. And I just wanted to know kind of your thoughts on it, or do you see it, hey, I have this 90-minute feature in this other world of sci-fi, and I got to post it now?
Yeah, no, I think it's quite the contrary to that. I think a lot of studios, no offense to anyone in the audience, basically just assumes that there is an audience waiting for them when they produce it. And obviously Hollywood is not a monolith, but there's an assumption generally that it's like if we spend enough on marketing distribution, the audience will come. And obviously that's proven false, which is why we just keep regurgitating the same bullshit IP over and over again. Versus the fact we don't need a huge budget to basically build a giant moat and a fan base and kind of a dedicated audience that comes back to our content. Not in the form of like, monthly installments, but like it's sticky stuff. People are coming literally every single day. And so I think it's an iterative process to build up to that point, but we're looking at it very much as like audience driven, like very grassroots. So building that moat where it's like we have kind of concurrent storylines running all the time. We release these kind of 20-minute shorts and we're kind of building up to that point, but it's not like we're investing years building out something and crossing our fingers that like, we're going to have great ads and people are going to come watch it.
Yeah, and Fabrice, you can talk about this because you share this vision about how the social media disrupt the distribution. I mean, the distribution, maybe they go on the wall because they are spending, when I see the Paul Thomas Anderson movie, they spend $250 million for the movie and 120 for the marketing, which is just stupid, I think. And
yeah, I mean, I really abound to what Zach is saying, and I think that also as creatives and technologists, it's our duty to not only disrupt production but also disrupt distribution.
Yeah.
And there are several perspectives to that. The first one is the link to the technology. In the end, if you create good stories, people don't care about the technology that's behind.
Yeah,
when you watch Toy Story was the first ever CGI made movie, but you don't remember that. You remember the emotion that you had when you watched the characters and the story unfolding. So the question of the technology and focusing on the technology for me is kind of a wrong debate. But then on the other hand, you have the traditional gatekeepers who see this gigantic disruption and don't want to let go. But my take on that, I mean, at least our take, is to say, okay, we create a universe, we create an IP, we create an emotional connection to this IP with millions of people, the same way you did, Zach, probably different people from my IP and yours. Well, the crossover might be interesting, but and then you create different ways of monetizing it. For me, I put a lot of heart and soul and ultimately technical knowledge into creating 5-minute, 10-minute stories that are made for kids' emotional development. So why would I just put them on YouTube and feed the beast and have someone else, reap the benefits from it? So what we did is we created a way to monetize directly the content by basically allowing parents to personalize any kind of video that they see on our platform. So they can watch a piece of content and then they take a picture of themselves, of their child, and they upload it and they become the hero.
You help them to be pirate.
Yeah,
Help
so
them to be
basically
hacker.
it's like self-piracy of our content, but they pay for that. And we realized that parents were actually ready to pay $40, $50 to have a really beautiful personalized videos of themselves and their kids. And that's one way, to challenge distribution. The other thing that we're working on, and we're doing a premiere in LA in a month, is live cinema. So we came up with this concept where kids can come, they draw, and then we animate directly their drawing. So it's kind of, they co-create a movie together. And that's another way of challenging, the very passive, traditional way of watching movies.
Just happened, it was last month, the guy Long, who made about the submarine, the social media guy, you heard about this story. He disrupted the distribution totally with the theater. Daniel Long, the influencers?
Markiplier, yeah.
And you can talk about this. It's disrupt totally the distribution.
Well, I mean, I think that now you have no choice because it becomes so easy to create. But if you're still able to tell a good story, once again, the tool is at the service of the story. And we should never forget that. There's no such thing as technology for the sake of technology. Then this is also a role to try to think beyond the traditional distribution forms, which also, in a way, not satisfying.
And we see the distributor who are against AI and the artists who are using AI to disrupt distribution is going to be a big war. Chris, what do you think about this kind of discussion about how the social media are working with AI and how we can disrupt a lot of things and we be like more free for the artist? What do you think about this direction?
I completely think it's the right way to go. As you said, we're in a complete disruption cycle. I literally started a live show for this very purpose, and we restreamed to all of the various places, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, X, all of these places. And yeah, I just think it's fascinating that speed of the work is able to be done, and we're able to watch things. Like you said, you can write something, make something, and the next day we can be watching it online. Posting something on social media is very different to streaming it, which is what I've discovered. And I kind of like the live experience. I also think in-person experience is a much more important thing in the time of AI. So I'm just looking at these outlets right now because social media itself may be fully overtaken by AI in a couple of years. And the live streaming experience and the real life experience is something we're going to crave more and more. Now, maybe this will help cinema in a weird way. I haven't really thought too much about that, but yeah, I agree that making things, the distribution, it's all changed and so rapidly. It's also changing every single week still, which is why people just don't talk about workflows because what's the point if it's changing so consistently?
Yeah, we're going to talk about workflow and tools just after.
Oh, yeah.
That's true, yeah. And Brad, you know the studio very well, and you know the ways that they're working very well. You were inside them, really inside them. What do you think about this distribution? Are they cooked?
Look, what we're talking, or what this panel has been discussing, is presenting their work online and immediacy to the audience. In talking and being here at Cannes and talking to some of the younger filmmakers, they still have a dream of throwing up their work on a big screen and seeing it in a theater. And that's something that I still believe in and want. Going into the shared experience with the audience and having that emotional connection to the work. I think it's worth fighting to, have the 80-foot throw and it's up on 30-foot and, you can reach that type of audience. It's worth that fight to do it. I don't know what that is quite yet because as independent filmmakers, people here, it's short content, it's fast, it's furious, the tech's moving fast. And, we're at this weird little place where it's like, yes, I can get it to the audience, but really I want to see it big.
Yeah, and maybe there is not a contradiction between have the audience with social media directly and show it in the big screen. Like we had the example this month with a guy, he's with his community. It's American influencers, and with his community, they just borrow some theater alone.
And that's what Inoxtag did with
Inoxtag made a way in France too. Inoxtag in France, this guy, but he makes them together. He was making MK2 and TF1 on YouTube, and he was making a movie with the three. The guy in America, he disrupted totally. And he was not waiting money for distributors, no waiting money for the broadcasters, nothing. He just made it from the down,
the ground up.
the ground up, yeah. And that's crazy, and that's a good news about it. And now we're going to talk about the tools.
Before you move on, I just want to interject here. There was a comment made by the woman from Sky about this kind of bifurcated system, and I think that's true. On one hand, she was talking about, it's small screen, and what they were working on at Sky and also in Hollywood and some of these bigger studios is these bigger long format, whether they're episodic or 90-minute features. And these are two entirely different worlds. And, part of it is what kind of studio do you want to make? And, this goes back all the way to the 90s, independence versus studio. I mean, this argument's been going back and forth, these two worlds, these two lanes. And I think that still holds true today, where it's, hey, pick your lane. Where do you want to go? Do you want to work in the studio system? Do you want to work in the independent system? You can even say, do you want to work in the ad lane and do advertising? That's another big, very successful place where if you want to start a studio, for this topic of discussion, that's a really good place where you can show your work too. Pick your lane, commit to it, and then use the AI to deliver that content.
It's independent film, and it's the way you make independent film. You don't depend, and it's always the war between entertainment and art.
Yes,
that's the big. From the beginning, you make entertainment. You just want to make people a pleasure, or you try to make art and to make the suffering the people and to see the society don't want to see. If you show, for example, Mathieu Kassovitz was an example when he showed La Haine. He shows something that the French society, no one wanted to see, the banlieue. And he showed a movie about it, and that's art. And the studios, they always want to make please the public. And sometimes, like you said, with your public, you don't have to be pleased all the time, but to be as. So now we're going to talk about the tools and about the workflows. AI, going fast. It's difficult to make workflow, but can you tell us the way that you start a few years ago with your workflow, with what tools, and the now, what changed? Is it, for example, Fabrice, you was working really in a studio with engineers, with people who get the Emmy Awards, artists and engineers is the soul of your studio, artists and engineers who are working together. How the workflows change from the beginning and now?
I mean,
simply for people.
One comment. I don't think it's really worth going into the depths of the technology, but one comment on this dialectic between engineers and storytellers.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky at my very little scale to have sort of both hats, but at the very beginning when I created the studio with my co-founders, we hired a lot of engineers because AI was still nascent and you needed to sort of hinge this technology, understand it, and adapt it to the stories we wanted to tell. And one thing that we realized very quickly is that actually it's way better to have mostly creatives and upskill them to the technology than to take engineers and try to make them into storytellers, because that doesn't work. And the thing is that the technology evolves so quickly that now, especially with the young generation that are of creatives or storytellers that are pretty tech savvy, you can just train them on the new technology. So I think we had a pretty classic growth as a studio. We started with our own proprietary workflows using a lot of Confi,
UI,
and then low ranking adaptation models. So small models that were responding specific problematics. So we do animation, for example, in animation. Obviously, you need to have consistency of characters. You need to have control of the eyes of the character because the eye is the soul of the character in a cartoon, in a film as well. And of course, by prompting regular commercial models, you could not get that. So we would create small language models just in order to control the eyes of the character. But the truth is now, if you look at all the models that exist on the shelf, they pretty much solve all these problems. So
But the tech became a commodity.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not important anymore.
yeah, I think. I mean, now what we have is what is called an AI adapter that basically pulls in. In one cartoon, we use around 30 different models, some for video, some for music, some for sound effects, some for camera movement, so on and so forth. And the AI is just the layer that pulls those different commercial models. But down the line, if I come back to what I was saying about Pixar and CGI and Toy Story, all this doesn't matter. All this doesn't matter. What the audience wants is a beautiful story, well told, that looks aesthetically pleasing. And whether you do that on Confi or with Nano Banana, the public is not going to give a damn about it. So I'm a strong believer. I mean, I know that investors don't like to think it this way, but that the technology will become a commodity.
We can talk about investors, because normally when we talk in movie investors, it's distributors. Yeah. So if we're talking about disrupting distributors, we have to be honest. You don't understand? Siri, all right. So normally when we talk about disrupting distributors, it's a little bit false, because we have investors. But the people who invest in content is not the same. There's not anymore a broadcaster or distributor normal. It's people who come from the VC. So you know very well, because you are with the best VC of the world. We are very knowing. Understand?
I mean, it's interesting, because I also have.
What they think about? It's content first, and it's not tech first. It's difficult for them to understand.
It's difficult for them. They realize that it's the future of entertainment, but they don't really know where to.
For investors, they say, okay, we invest in the tech. And when you tell them, no, invest in.
Invest in basically the audience, the storytelling, and basically the disruption of distribution, and ultimately the team. But also on the other hand, I have Hollywood A-listers that invested in my company. Some of them really big stars, Marvel stars, and
You can tell the name.
No, I cannot say the name. I mean, I can say it, but they don't want officially to.
Just something to make those people. He was in a school in Henri IV with Emmanuel Macron, and when Emmanuel Macron became president, he was taking ayahuasca in Peru, and his mom was talking to him, "You lose your life. What you did." So that's the type of people we love. They prefer taking ayahuasca than going to Élysée.
Yes, but sometimes it creates family tensions. Sometimes, but joke aside, still this tension around technology and content makes it such that Hollywood A-listers know that people like us are the future of storytelling, or part of the future at least, but they don't want officially to appear like they're supporting us, because the backlash in Hollywood would be too big. So that's why I salute people that are really stars of the industry like Mathieu, but who are really taking the devils by the horn and decide to go fully AI, because it's really not sort of the, let's say, the mainstream movement that we're seeing on the top layers of Hollywood.
But it's like Agnès Jaoui. Agnès Jaoui, she's humble and she's like. I mean, we need some people like this who have a big career in movie and who are curious, who don't become old people. They are young and they are giving energy on this. And Chris, about the ways that you're working. So you say you make advertising and fiction, and so the advertising with AI, it comes fast because they don't care about really the tools. And it's always a laboratory for fiction. A lot of people who came from, David Fincher came from advertising, and after he arrived in fiction. And are you tired about working for advertising? Are you not tired? I mean, it's boring, no?
Well, I had an advertising agency long before AI, so and advertising felt like the right place to start, because obviously it's what I'm familiar with, but we were very, very lucky in the early days. We started working with Coca-Cola, for example, and I discovered that they actually invented many forms of advertising and marketing, like influencer marketing and stuff like this. This is all Coca-Cola. Apparently also Santa was green, and then they turned him red, and all of this other stuff. And so I was always fascinated between the intersection of advertising, storytelling, and branding.
Maybe there is more freedom in branding in advertising now than in a lot of big studio of fiction.
Sure.
Maybe you can try some new way of narration, of storytelling in advertising.
Yes, this is true, and I kind of like the finite part of advertising, and the fact that it's not so subjective, actually. Filmmaking, you can always say, oh, I really like this film, but advertising actually has to do something, has to move the needle and make people actually act on what you want them to do. And like I said, we were just very lucky in the early days. We worked with very cool partners that were very adoptive of AI, and it's been a lot harder actually to get many brands on board because they're so worried of the legal side of AI and copyright and owning the assets and stuff like this. But we're a very small team and we don't need many clients, and the ones that we have been incredibly supportive. And going back to your earlier question about tech that we started with, again, we have been in AI since 2018, which is very early for a lot of people. And I was messing around with things pre-Midjourney, pre-DALL-E, pre-all of this. And it was...
What is your favorite tool?
Now?
Yeah.
Dance. It's unbelievable. It's kind of insane, and I'm so
For
happy
everyone,
that
like
it
here,
exists.
like what is your favorite tools? The favorite one? For me, it's Midjourney. Midjourney for the aesthetic and the artistic. Zach, what is your favorite?
Midjourney, obviously.
Midjourney, yeah. Fabrice?
I mean, we use so many that, and also I think, yeah, no, I'm not going to say Midjourney.
Say Midjourney, yeah.
But I love Sit Dance. I mean, the last version
Right.
is just completely out of whack in terms of
What is your favorite tools?
Yeah, so we were working on, months ago or years ago, it was really hard to do fight sequences. It was just, there was a lot of hallucinations. You had to kind of come up with creative ways to tell a fight sequence through editorial. And with Dance, I think they finally broke through and they can render that motion correctly. And it's just a lot of fun to finally have that capability.
I mean, character interaction in general.
Yeah, interaction, and so that's really a leap forward in terms of, okay, now we can do that kind of more violent or fight stuff.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, there is a problem. For instance, when you're working, Zach, on your world, it's very post-apocalyptic world, and it's very violent and stuff. And it was difficult for you with the tools, no, to go really deep inside the world that you want to go.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think as far as tools go, it's kind of like what are the quality of life tools versus like the differentiator. Everyone's using Seed Dance. No one's work is differentiated through Seed Dance. I mean, go on like, I don't know why people use LinkedIn as though it's YouTube now, but I feel like every single post is Seed Dance, and there's no like creator watermark, so to speak. It's like it's like the great kind of democratizing animation tool now, where it's so easy to use that like you don't even have to be conscious to get insane output. So Seed Dance for sure is the biggest thing that's happened in the last 4 years, but Midjourney is kind of like maybe like the last true tool that actually allows for differentiation. I think that's like the only real like aesthetic stem that determines
SREFs. I just love SREFs.
Yeah.
And this universe of creating your own palette. Midjourney was my favorite image tool by far. And
this is past tense.
It's everywhere. I'm all over the place. I use like 20 different image tools at the moment. But Midjourney is an aesthetically pleasing thing for the overall style and the SRFs and the controllability and the personalized boards and all of the things that you can build. I was very thankful to Midjourney actually, because they reached out to us privately and said, we're starting this tool, here's version 1. We really like your portfolio of art direction that we found online, and we felt that you could help give feedback to the model, and we've had unlimited free access to Midjourney since version 1. And I was very thankful to the team for finding our work and reaching out in the way they did, because even though we were so early into AI, I was like, what's this Midjourney, why should I check it out? I didn't know Discord. This was my main barrier to entry, was actually the Discord, rather than everyone else had a web interface and other things which I'm much more familiar with. And Discord itself is a little bit intimidating, actually more intimidating than Midjourney perhaps as a biological bootloader. But then I'm so glad that we did take this seriously, and maybe I've made 300,000 images on Midjourney now. So yeah, like I say, it's just so pleasing.
How do you manage the people and the tools in your studio? For example, how do you manage? There is one we're making just Midjourney On the other one is Nano Banana to check. On the other one, Sidance. Or the human are making few tools. How do you manage the tools and the people in your studio? How are they working? Dak?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion basically is that, I mean, AI is like a blanket term for everything, but whatever we want to call it, like latent space or whatever that weird ethereal realm is where all the pictures are waiting for us to dig up. It's super generic by default. And I think, you know, whether it's whatever, Nano Banana or the latest ChatGPT image model that went public like 12 hours ago or something, I mean, they all are basically pooling from this very homogenized data set. And so if everyone in here prompts like spaceship or whatever ChatGPT gives you for a prompt, like Kubrick-esque white tunnel with neon lights, it's super generic. And as a consequence of that, that's why the term slop exists and why 99.999% of AI is homogeneous, is because it's all pulling from the same kind of, you know, basically aggregate of just like, if you took every human's imagination of what a spaceship looks like and forced it together, and that's the result of it. And it's a reinforcing feedback loop because people create prompts and tools and it compounds on itself to the extent that almost everything you see, even if it looks really slick and cool, always looks the same. It's the same way like there's ghosts in the machine of these recurring faces and bone structures, and that are, you know, like it's human, whatever, reinforcement loops that are kind of pushing it to the extent that like everything is aesthetically converging on itself and looking the same. Like even before AI, we had Instagram face, or we had airspace is what we called it. There was an article in 2016 about how Airbnb has fucked the world and just homogenized all culture into like a bland, beige, Scandinavian-esque nothing. And AI is just pushing that to the same extent, and that's why I think a lot of creators, even with powerful narratives, although a lot of narratives are missing from AI right now, it falls apart to me because there's no real actual, I mean, anti-AI people will lash out at me for being a hypocrite, but there's no authorship. It's basically, I just gladly accepted the first image that AI gave me for like buff dude walking through Tokyo at night, and accepted that. And I think that's why I'm like so big on Midjourney, is that's probably the greatest form of or opportunity to actually carve out latent space and create authorship there. So like, I get mad at my team a lot for taking too much time on things, and I get mad at myself for like, damn, Higgsfield is fucking bragging about releasing a 25-minute film in 6 hours we just made, like the next Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. But it's also, I mean, it's like literally the embodiment of slop insofar as there's no human authorship. It's like, it is literally just hooking up, you know, seed dance straight to YouTube kind of phenomena where there's no actual world building or authorship or intentionality or like aesthetic discretion. It's basically like, let's pull out all the most homogenized default states. This is monster. This is hot girl number one. This is cool guy with a tank top. And I think the big thing for me with the tools is really like, the main focus should be on how do we actually like control and carve out and design this world. So even a scene where it's like, who cares what the faucet looks like in the sink where he's washing his hands for 20 seconds or whatever, 2 seconds. I think those are the opportunities where like world building comes into play, which is like, we're going to put 3 guys designing this workshop for 3 weeks if we need to, so that every single element is considered and thought through. And we don't just accept blindly by default, this is what AI says a dirty workshop looks like, but like, let's populate it with things. So basically, yeah, that was an incredibly long tangential answer, which is like none of the tools matter for me at all, but because it's all a commodity besides like the very visual authoring tools, which to me is just Midjourney plus Nano Banana for compositing.
David, on va passer à la dernière question. Je suis là.
Tu es où? Tu es là? Ah ok, fini? Ok.
Dernière question tranquille, vous avez
So to make the link with
quelques
after,
minutes.
what is the future? Like future, we don't talk about 10 years, all right? We just talk about next year. Next year, we're gonna come back here. Next year, what is gonna happen for the next year here? What is your hypothesis? Like, if we take a bet, what is gonna happen in the next year when we're gonna be sitting there? Is it gonna be big, or is it gonna be just slowly, but not a disruption? Like, is it a disruption? Is a dream of an artist? Because we love disruption and we want to change the world, but what is gonna happen next year? Fabrice, Brad, come on, start.
I think what we're going to see in 1 year is some of this big studio material hitting. There's a kind of a long lead into creating that stuff or injecting it into their work. I'm talking to studios now, and they say, hey, we have this little scene or this little sequence. Can you do that in AI? And the answer is yes, of course we're going to do that for you and interject it into your feature. And then that feature is released 1 year from now. So that's going to be a big part of the conversation to see that. And then I think also in the next year, there's going to be a feature-length, long movie done.
Yeah.
Whether that, and what does that look like? It can be, pure animation, it can be photorealism, but it will be AI. And you can also differentiate that or make it so there'll be a hybrid approach. That's a very hot word in the visual effects community where it's like, hey, we're doing hybrid. You're going to see that. Will you see a pure AI play? And that, I hope so. Maybe it's next year, maybe it's in 2 years. There's a lot of work that goes into a pure AI play. 300,000 iterations, management of that media. You talk about tracking systems or workflows. How do you put together that 90 minutes or 120-minute feature of a pure AI play? I think that's coming down the line within the next year.
Chris, what do you think about it?
I've always been really wrong with all of my predictions. But I will say, I think I'm quite excited about world models, which aren't being talked enough about.
Yeah, it's a big. I mean, technologically, I agree with you.
Right.
I'm waiting this because VLM, it's like the black and white, and I think the world model will be the color in movie.
It seems like it's just a temporal memory issue. Google seems to have about 1 to 2 minutes of memory locked into the world models. But I think this will blend all sorts of stuff, actually, like augmented reality, virtual reality, multiplayer online role-playing games, all of this world
The link with the
combining in a
video
weird
game
way.
and movie,
Exactly.
the wall will fall between a video game and movie.
Exactly.
You could, Fabrice talk about the personalization. Fabrice, what about next year? I mean, you are between the video game and the movies. This is interesting road to what's happening there.
I'm very bullish on this idea of personalization and personalized content. I mean, I think that AI is the perfect technology in general for personalization.
But next year.
Well, several things excite me. First one, the fact that very talented and established storytellers will become big players and finally own the AI.
We need Agnès Jaoui and Mathieu Kassovitz.
Everyone. I mean,
take the tool.
I'm actually, to be honest, disappointed by the very few traditional players present in this room. I was expecting much more.
I'm happy when there is a traditional movie maker who are interesting about AI and they're going to take the tool. The level is going up. It's good for everyone.
So that's for me very exciting. Second, as you say, the breaking of the walls between interactivity, traditional storytelling, gaming, new kind of cinema. All this is being redefined as we speak, and we hope we can bring our own little stone to that. And the third thing that grieves me a little bit as a French entrepreneur living in the US is I really see the gap, unfortunately, between what's happening in the US and what's happening in Asia and what's happening in Europe. I'm honestly appalled by the level of the conversation in Europe, including in some of the panels before us, where, I understand the concern about author rights, but just to be obsessed by this and basically structuring everything around this, with on top of that absolutely no vision as far as Europe is concerned in terms of the development of AI, this is not like a good way of positioning.
So go back to America.
I don't know.
You will never come again in Europe. You will never be invited again, okay? Go back home.
To America.
Go back home.
No, but I'm a little bit sad that with the level.
The last time I invited you. Okay.
Thank you. With the level of talent and technologies that we have here, we're still kind of stuck in our old way of seeing things. That's it.
So will you invite
Thank you guys. I'm so sorry.
No. Zach, no, Zach. Yeah. Okay. No, okay, Zach, please. You have the last word. Zach, you have the last word.
Yeah, of course.
The last one, yes.
Sure.
Yeah?
A year is a little short, but I'll do my best.
But you have to respect the right, okay?
Yeah.
You have to be careful. You will be invited and you will show this movie here. We'll be happy to invite you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, David.
And
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.